Hi, first grade. This is Miss Dyer, and this is my husband, Mr. Buddy. Say hi, Mr. Buddy.
Hello.
Mason, my son Mason, is videoing. And, oh my goodness, and this is Miss Annie. And Annie is my granddaughter. I bet you guys didn't know that about Miss Dyer. I am a grandmother. Well, Annie and I have been reading stories all day, and we're going to see how this goes. We'll start out reading for just a minute, and if she doesn't like that, then Mr. Buddy may take her over there. But Miss Dyer's going to read you a story today called a fable. Called a fable. And a fable is a story that usually has animals that are acting like humans, and at the end of the story, it teaches us a lesson using the story about the animals. So we're going to read a story called The Tortoise and the Hare. Now a tortoise is kind of like a turtle. Oopsie. And a hare is another word for a rabbit. So let's see what happens in The Tortoise and the Hare. Whoopsie. Yeah, we'll probably have some drops here in a minute. She's a wiggly one. Once upon a time in a great forest, there lived a hare and a tortoise. Tortoise was slow with everything he did. He sometimes ate his breakfast so slowly that it was almost time for lunch before he had finished. He kept his house clean and neat, but he did it at his own pace, which was very slow. Hare, on the other hand, was quick as a wink in all that he did. He would be up in the morning, finished with his breakfast, and going for an early walk in the forest before Tortoise had even got out of bed. Hare could not imagine how Tortoise could stand to be so slow all the time. So, boy, they're very different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh. You don't like this story? You want to take her over there?
Yes.
Okay. Say bye, Annie. She's listened to stories all day long. All day long. So we'll finish the story, and Annie might come back here in just a minute. She's going to go hang out with her. We call him G, and our grandchildren call Miss Dyer Winnie. So Winnie's going to read the story. Okay, let's see what happens. Tortoise lived next door to his good friend Squirrel. Squirrel had a cozy little home high up in an old oak tree. She loved to spend her time scurrying around. She thought it was fun to jump from branch to branch. Squirrel, like Hare, wondered how Tortoise could always be so slow. Well, Hare lived near his old friend Owl, who was not nearly as quick as Hare. In fact, he spent a lot of his time sleeping. But Owl was very wise, and he was a good neighbor. Sometimes he thought to himself, Hare always seems to be rushing somewhere in a hurry. I wonder if he ever slows down. Every afternoon, when the weather was nice, Tortoise would gather up his paints and brushes and go out into the woods. Tortoise loved to paint pictures of flowers and trees and the stream near his house. He worked slowly, but his pictures were beautiful. Hare thought painting a picture was not at all exciting. What a dull fellow Tortoise is, he said. Hare had the most fun leaping about the forest. He liked to visit his friends, rushing from house to house. Wherever he went, he always ran very, very fast. There was just one problem. Hare was sure that he was the smartest, fastest, most handsomest animal in the whole forest, and he never failed to tell his friends how splendid he was. I think I look especially fine today, he would say to himself as he stood in front of the mirror. He thinks he's all that, doesn't he? Tortoise never bragged about himself. He knew that he was not particularly handsome and that he was very slow, but he did not mind. He was happy to spend his time working hard, painting his beautiful pictures at his very slow pace. One day, Tortoise was sitting beside the stream painting a picture of the pretty wildflowers on its bank. Hare came up and said, "You are such a slowpoke, Tortoise. You've been working on that same picture all week." "I'm not so very slow," protested Tortoise. "Silly fellow," said Hare. "You're so slow that I bet I could beat you at anything you name. Just name something. I'll win." "All right," said Tortoise. "How about a race?" What an idea! Hare laughed and laughed as he thought of running a race with Tortoise. Hare laughed so hard he thought he might just explode. Why do you think that he was laughing? Word of the race spread quickly through the forest. All the animals were talking about how Tortoise had boldly challenged Hare. What was Tortoise thinking? Why did he do such a thing, they wondered. Even Squirrel had to laugh at the idea of Tortoise racing Hare. Squirrel hurried down her tree and went over to tell Owl the exciting news. When Owl heard about the big race, he blinked his eyes slowly and said in his deep, wise voice, I am not so sure that Hare will win. Oh, you can never tell what is going to happen. On the day of the race, all the animals in the forest gathered at the starting line. Skunk and Chipmunk had been busy laying out the course for the race. Bear had a banner to mark the finish line. Squirrel had a bunch of balloons she was going to give to the animals in the crowd. Fox was to be the judge. If the race is close, I will say who the winner is, he declared. Don't worry, said Hare. You won't have a problem. I will be so far ahead there will be no doubt about who the winner of this race is. Tortoise and Hare stepped up to the finish line, or to the starting line. Oops. Tortoise looked nervous as he saw all the animals. Hare smiled and just waved to the crowd. He thinks he is the best, doesn't he? He could hardly wait to show Tortoise a thing or two about running a race. Fox looked at both runners, then he shouted, get ready, get set, go! The race was on. Hare dashed across the starting line. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared over the first hill. Oh dear, said Squirrel to herself. There goes Hare out of sight already. Poor Tortoise hasn't even started. Sure enough, Tortoise was just at the beginning, and he had just started to climb the steep path. Very slowly. Almost done. Hare ran and ran until he was sure that he could win. This isn't even a race, he said to himself. I think I'll lie down and rest a bit. Then I'll finish and still have plenty of time to spare. There's no way that slowpoke will ever catch up with me. So Hare lay down under a shady tree and soon fell fast asleep. Suddenly, Hare woke up with a start. He could hear cheering. He leaped to his feet and began running as fast as his long legs would carry him. But when he saw the finish line of the race, he could not believe his eyes. Tortoise was about to win the race. Hare could not believe it. Tortoise was crossing the finish line. Uh-oh. There they are. Look at them. They're all around Tortoise. He's got a medal around his neck. The crowd cheered and cheered. They ran to the finish line to congratulate Tortoise. The wise owl blinked his eyes and said what all the other animals were thinking. Slow and steady wins the race. The end. Here's, look at Hare. See how, he doesn't look too happy, does he? So that is the story of the tortoise and the hare. So we had a little bit of excitement with Annie, and she's just little, so we've been reading stories all day, so I think she's ready to go back and take a nap. But what I want you guys to think about, I know it's hard, sometimes we keep giving you this work that we want you to do, if you're able, and sometimes you might look at other people and think, gosh, they're just so much better than me, I'm just not good, or I just don't know how to do that yet. And so I want you to think about what the lesson is in this story. What is this story telling us? Slow and steady wins the race. Should we just go around and just halfway do something and just go around bragging to our friends when we do know things that other people might not know? No, I don't think so. Hare wasn't very nice. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to do something called compare and contrast the two characters. One of the characters was Tortoise, and he was really slow, and one of the characters was Hare. He was really super fast, but there were some other differences too. So I'm gonna download a little paper to help you kind of think about some things that you could compare and contrast. If you compare two things, it means you're telling what was similar. And if you contrast two things, it means you're telling how they're different. So I want you to think about Miss Dyer's story. And I want you to go back and think about the tortoise and the hare and see if your parents can show you the worksheet that Miss Dyer's going to download. You don't have to print it off or anything. It's just going to give you a guide of some things that you can compare and contrast about tortoise and hare. I hope everybody's well and having I guess a good time. We miss you guys and we can't wait to get back to school. Everybody stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you later.